Welcome to episode 610 of the Aussie Tech Heads, recorded on the 15th November 2018. Aussie Tech Heads is brought to you by ATH Web Hosting at athwebhosting.com.au. Servers operate on SSD drives, immediate activation, SSL certificates, Aussie support, domain registration, easy install of WordPress, Joomla and Drupal. I'm your host Jason Oakley, and we have back again Australia's two top podcasters. I'm joined this week by Will Tompkinson. Hey Will.
Good evening.
Do you think they remember us? No.
No, it was like episode 300 or something we were on last, I think. What did we work out? It was August?
Yeah, around August or something. They got better people to do this than us. No one wants to listen to us anymore.
So this is the problem when somebody takes on night shift and somebody else has a kid.
Yeah.
Con destroys. That's, we've got great ideas for podcasts you want to do, but there's no time to do it.
There's just not that much happening. I'm still kind of following crypto, but there's not much happening. Bitcoin's down below 6,000 for the first time in years, and everybody's panicking. And
it's plateaued again. So it had that massive big influx at the start of the year, and then now everybody's bored with it again. But I think once McAfee eats his
thing,
that'll bring the interest back into the into the market again. No, but I think it's one of those things. Like and it was bound to happen.
Yeah.
The market got saturated, and like any market that's saturated, the interest just tanks.
20 million altcoins.
On the upside, Aussie coin. Wow, it's been a long day. What am I trying to say?
I never know. Don't ask me.
Australia coin, has actually gone up recently. They've actually had. There's a couple of exchanges it's on now, and it's actually starting to take up value. They've now got the FPOS up and running, with multi cryptocurrency FPOS. So it's actually Dave's doing a good job and pushing it through. So it's actually starting to become worth all the effort.
We should just do another interview with them.
Yeah, well, it's due because they've just had a few big releases, so we'll have to get them on and do another.
And for Glenn, it looks like XRP has gone up a bit, so keep your fingers crossed, man. So, don't open the fourth story window and jump out just yet.
I think in general, and this is just a blanket technology statement, there's not really a lot. As much as it's changed, it stayed the same. Like, there's been new things brought out. There's a new Pixel coming out. There's a new whatever, but there's not that much has actually changed, really, in terms of the landscape of general tech. You could almost pass that for the last 12 months. It's sort of plateaued. Like, Paquette's law is sort of breaking its own rules at the moment, I think.
A new iPhone came out.
It did? Oh, you mean they re-released the old Android?
What? Yes, they upgraded to put in some more Android features. But the sad thing was that we lost Stan Lee, so we should take that into account. That's very sad. And the guy who did Hal's voice.
Yeah, the voice of Hal, yeah. Which, ironically, although he died, I think, a day later, I actually heard about first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard about him first, too. But in this little country town that I live in, when I was in high school, they had a technology train pulled into town, so us geeks went down there and checked it out. And they said, oh, by the way, they had a little notice on there, what happens if you take every letter of the alphabet after HAL for the computer that went haywire? IBM. Oh, is that where they got the name from?
Yeah, that was completely coincidental. It was not
planned.
Not planned at all. No, there was no forethought in that. Yeah.
And the other thing that we should talk about, what we're getting into at the moment, is.
Well, hey, do you want to start at the beginning? So there was this thing that Android brought out a few years ago called Cardboard, which was a so-so attempt at.
It's not something that Amazon sends you gifts in.
So there's a lot of these $10. Headsets that you drop your phone in, load the Cardboard app. There's VR roller coasters and Goat Simulator, and there's not some bad games on VR. It's not too bad. But the headset itself doesn't really have anything going for it. It's got a little magnetic switch there that triggers a few things, and there's no sensors, there's no nothing. It's a dumb case.
No controller.
You can then go and buy a $5 Bluetooth controller, which is a $5 Bluetooth controller. Sometimes
looks like one of those Wii things.
Yeah, that's what it's based on. Yeah. Well, it's
that's a wee little thing it is.
So anyway, I've been using that on and off for 12 months or 18 months or since whenever I got it.
Yeah, I remember you were showing me. You put it just any normal screen from your computer through there and use it like a monitor. You
could do that as well. Yeah, you could use an app that turned your desktop into, and you could actually look across, and it would actually switch screens. It'd do a few pretty neat little things. So there was some cool stuff to it, but obviously it was somewhat limited. The next most common thing to come out, and this is courtesy of Jason, he sent this to me because he's upgraded, but the Gear VR was sort of the next big thing that came out of...
I got it free with my Galaxy S8.
Exactly, and they really push it. It's a combination of Gear, VR, and Oculus technology.
Yeah, it's made by Oculus.
Now, there's no sensors in this unit itself, but it does have very good lenses. It's much clearer than the cheaper cardboard headsets.
It's got a control pad on the side where your forward is if you don't have a controller.
Oh yeah, it's got the touchpad there with the buttons there, and it does come with a somewhat nice controller that actually is...
Version 2 came with the controller. Version 1 didn't, apparently.
And so it's also much more comfortable to wear than most of the cardboard units. So this is the next thing. This stepped things up a bit using the Oculus technology. Uses the sensors in the phone better. The software is just written better. It's just nicer coded. It's cleaner.
And you can charge while it's going. And the other thing that we have to mention, the reason they called it cardboard was because you could actually print out a pattern on a bit of paper and cut out cardboard to make one out of cardboard for like $5 and put your phone in it.
That's it, exactly. And look, there are some things that the cardboard app does that I actually really like. Like some of the Minecraft plugins work better on the cardboard than they do on the Gear VR. And there's a program I use called Trinus, which actually turns my cardboard, or I use the Gear VR as cardboard, but it turns that into a Steam VR headset, so you can play your Steam games through the headset as well, which is really cool. It also means you can record them on the computer. But once again, it's just a dumb unit. It doesn't have sensors. It doesn't have things like that. Although I have upgraded mine, as you can see, I've got a couple of LEDs on mine. Because I do use the Trinus app, what it does, it allows your webcam to do tracking. So if you give it a couple of bright points, it can track, which gives you a little bit of pan, a little bit of tilt, a little bit of actually being able to look at something. But at the end of the day, it's still a seated unit. And then Warlock, or Jason, decided to upgrade his unit, and his is just a blank screen. No way. So you've got the Oculus Rift.
Yep.
Yep. So the Rift is the next generation. Again, it uses it doesn't use your phone. See, the problem with all those other devices, it uses your phone, which means your phone goes flat, gets hot, gets worked hard, and you can't use your phone while you're doing stuff. His has dedicated hardware, dedicated screens built in. So now you've got the 2 hand controllers as well, and with the 4, you've got 2 or 4 wall sensors.
3.
You got 3 sensors, 1 front, 2 rear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see one up there.
So what it does, it knows where you are in the room, so it actually gives you a full 360. You can literally walk forward and backwards, and the game will respond to that.
They actually just have a constellation of LEDs come out, and the good thing about that is you get full room scale tracking. But if there's some games where, say, for an inventory, there's a backpack, so you've got a sword in your hand, you put it behind your back, and it puts it into the backpack virtually. And a lot of the other, anything that doesn't have the sensors on it, you put your controller back here and suddenly it can't do anything. So there are games where something comes up behind you, you want to shoot it, and you're going like this, and the computers and stuff can't see that you're shooting behind you because your controller is out of the reach.
Yeah, and these have got a line of sight. Like if you point this at something, it shoots a little invisible, like a red-eye laser dot at whatever you, so you know exactly where you're targeting, because it doesn't have spatial awareness.
They need to have a kitty cat game with that, and you can chase the dot around.
Chase the laser. There probably is. But with the Oculus, it knows exactly where you are. It has full spatial awareness when you're moving, when you're rotating. Plus, it knows exactly where the controllers are. You can also do other things to help refine that. There is webcam apps and other apps you can use that also help make it even more precise with movement and stuff like that. And
they've got what they call 6 degrees of freedom. So not only are you tilting up, down, left, right, and sideways, but you can also move forwards, backwards, jump up and down, crouch, and move left and right, and it detects all of that.
You can pick something up because you've got 2 controllers that emulates your hands. You can pick something up and you can look at it.
Yeah, you can put your thumbs up. Good work. Yeah. It's good for playing poker VR, I really like. And you sit in there, it has chips, you pick up the chips on the table in a fist and you throw them over the line to bet. You knock on the table twice with a fist for checking. You pick up your cards and you throw them in the middle, in the center, and it folds them, but you see the full animation of people moving around. You can always tell when you're playing poker who's got that and who's got either an Oculus Go, which is like the VR, but you don't. It's got the phone part computer built into it, so you don't need a separate phone, or the Gear VR, because everyone's just sitting there with their hands in their laps and they can move their head around, but the rest of their body doesn't move. So you go on there and you're like, well, Bob over there's got a Rift, Tony over there's got a Rift, and I do, but nobody else does, because you can see them moving their hands about. It was funny because a couple of weeks ago I logged on and this guy gave his friend his Oculus Rift, and his friend puts on. And he's like, oh, wow, man, this is amazing. Hey, dude, and you got an ace and a queen of hearts. not realising that anything you say is broadcast. And we all start cracking up. And he's like, what? We said, we can hear what you're saying, man. Thanks for the heads up. He's like, oh, you guys, you're hilarious.
Yeah, that's it. And then there's also the Vive. HTC Vive is the
HTC Vive. Yeah. They got 2 versions. They got the normal one and the Pro, which is slightly upgraded, but everyone agrees paying the extra like $500 is not worth it. So there's also the Samsung Odyssey.
That's the new one. Yeah, there's actually
Odyssey Plus is the new one. Yep. And Pimax brought out, they had a 4K version, they've got a 5K Plus they just brought out, and an 8K screen that works with the Vive controllers, if you buy Vive controllers, because they don't actually have controllers, or the satellite sensors either. You have to get the Vive ones of those, and they're even much higher. A lot of people, there's people that can get picky, it doesn't bother me, but you can see what they call the screen door effect, because you can see tiny little lines between each pixel on there, because your screen is up here. I mean, if you put your face right up to your LCD monitor, or the phone.
And you can see that, especially you'd really notice it. Like, I didn't realise that I've got a hard screen protector on this.
Oh yeah.
I didn't realise there's actually a hairline fracture down the centre of my screen protector. You can't see it. I know I've got a big crack here, but you can't see this hairline one down the centre until you put it in the head, and then you can see it.
Well, we don't want to hear about your big crack right now. Thanks very much.
But, yeah, there's the that Pi one looks really good. I've heard a few good reviews about that. There's also the PlayStation VR.
Yep.
Which
is probably the least useful one. It's got less features, the tracking's not good, and but it's got some really good. There's Astrobot, is just a game that's just come out. Everybody loves it and wants it on every platform, but it's exclusive to PSVR only.
There's the one with the PS. That's the one that uses the big hands controllers.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
There's a guy on there who buys those and the camera from the PlayStation VR, because it's got dual lens and it tracks really good. So you can take a normal. You can also use that Trainers app on the actual headset as well, because it's got LEDs in it. But you don't need to buy that. You can just buy the hand sticks and that, and you can use that with a lot of your stuff, and it tracks really well because it's dual.
Yep.
But what's really funny is I remember years ago when the Oculus Rift first came out, and everybody's like, "Oh, that'll never take off. No one wants one of those. What are you going to do with it?" But, and this is open source. It was free to do whatever you wanted to modify it, change it, do whatever you wanted. And back then it was the developer kit, where I think you only got a headset. I don't think there was even hand controllers and stuff with it. I think it was just a mask. And there's Windows mixed reality too is the other one.
I have to mention
Yeah, but I think these days it's people have. I mean, where do you go? We've got 100-inch LCD TVs now. You can buy for, $400. Like, you're playing on you're almost immersive now playing on a screen that size. Like, it's just really the only thing you can go to. I mean, it's entirely different from the virtual reality back in the early mid 90s, which was basically glorified.
Game Boy once.
Well, it was like a swooping dragon, and you're running around as a stick figure shooting this thing. Like, that's so it's changed a lot, but I think as the developments, it's developing hand in hand with mobile phones, because mobile phones, they keep increasing the screen resolution, they keep increasing the processing power, they keep increasing the graphics chips on phones, and that's finding its way into all these headsets now. So I don't think it's a bad thing. No. But even instead, like the Oculus, there's like 3 levels of the Oculus now as well. So it's all.
Well, the next one Facebook has announced coming out next year is called the Oculus Quest, which is like the Oculus Go in that it's got the phone type computer in there, and you can't just think of like it's Samsung S8 type CPU. It's not the latest one, but it's not in the background. It's not doing mail. It's not checking Twitter. It's not doing Facebook. It's not tracking everything. It's not doing 600 things which your phone does, and so your phone battery goes zoom, and the power behind the CPU and the graphics chip is not that great on your phone, really, but you got the same thing and you put it in this. It's got active cooling with fans, and it doesn't need these sensors that I've got, because it's got 4 sensors on the outside that are constantly little cameras that are watching everything in your room where things are.
LiDAR.
But what I have to do with this is once you install, you set up this, you take your controller and you hold down the button and you walk around the room to make a perimeter of where you can walk, so you're not falling over your bed or the cat's bed or the coffee table and stuff. But this thing knows where everything is. It knows there's a table there, so if you get close to it, it lets you know. The Guardian system on mine is 4 walls around you, and if you get too close, it lights up a grid pattern in front of you, so you know you're just about to trip over the coffee table and break your neck. So hopefully you don't do that. You can ignore it, of course, and just keep going. But number of times we punch the wall or hit the curtains over here and go, I think I've got a bit too far that way.
The amount of videos you see on YouTube with people smashing TV sets and light shades, and That's one thing I have to mention. The phones do get incredibly hot. Like, I've actually had my phone go into power, light reduce its power a couple of times because it's got so hot. Now I've got a metal plate on the back of mine that I use for my magnetic thing, and what I figured out is I can take my heatsink off my Raspberry Pi and stick a coin magnet in it, and I can actually stick that to my metal pad.
It dissipates the heat.
And I put that on my headset when I'm playing with it, and it knocks like 20 degrees off the temperature of my phone.
Nice. Here's a good tip for everyone. And I've got, if you go to my website, jasonoakley.com, I've got WordPress auto posting every week information about a game, mostly a game that I've played before on whichever platform, Gear VR and or Oculus Rift. I don't review them. I'm not going to say what's great and what's bad and do a video review because I'm lazy. But other people have already done tons of YouTube videos, so I'll say, here's a game, this is what I basically think of it, this is what happens in it, whether I think you should get it or not, bit of basics, and then I'll embed somebody else's YouTube video on there just for people to watch, so you get ideas. One of the games I like is called Space Pirate Trainer, where it's like Space Invaders, but to the nth degree. So you're actually, there's a big skyscraper building behind you, and you're on like the 50th floor or something on a platform. Behind you is a little spaceship that's just docked there because it looks nice in the background, doesn't do anything. But you stand there with 2 guns on the edge of this skyscraper, and you can see all the city in front of you. And these alien spaceships, little ones, come up and start zooming around, and you have to try and shoot them, and they'll shoot back at you. They'll duck out of the way, and if you get too many of them coming at once, because you're up to like wave 6 and everything's going crazy, when they shoot at you and you're not seeing, because there's one over to the right here, but you're busy shooting these ones over here. In the game settings, if you have it on the not too hard one, you can put it on hard and then die quite a lot, which I did the other day. But it goes into a bullet time. The music slows down and everything goes red, green, blue separated colors if you get hit. But it goes like bullet time in the Matrix, and then you can see this bullet heading towards you, and you duck out of the way, and it zooms straight past you. And then there's another one coming this way, and another one going over there, and these things zooming all around, shooting at you, and you're trying to blast them out of the sky. It's a really good game.
It's like super hot.
Yeah,
super hot.
One of the games my daughter likes is called Beat Saber, which is like Guitar Hero, but you've got lightsabers in your hand. And these blocks come at you, and you have to hit them in time with the music. But the blocks have got arrows, so if it's pointing on to the right and it's on the right, you've got to hit it that way, or hit it up, or hit it down, or hit it left. And then there's two going at once, and they swap them over, and then they have a solid wall comes at you, and you have to duck out of the way of the wall, or duck underneath it, and duck over this way, and keep in time with the music. So you can get quite a workout just playing a few VR games, but it's great fun. And they got car racing games. There's one called Project Cars 2 that everyone's trying to get me to get, because they reckon it's one of the best car racing ones. And a lot of people get what they call HOTAS, as like a car steering wheel and a shifter and pedals, so that you can connect those to the USB ports in your computer and drive around.
I think Live for Speed 2 is much better than Project Cars, but you know.
Oh, is that in VR? I don't know. This is just one that people have said to get. I don't want anything that's, there's some games that are like very strict on your turning and changing gears and braking all at the right precise moments and stuff. I just want to have fun and rip through stuff like...
Yeah, well, that's why Live for Speed's good. But the thing is, Live for Speed was one of the very first... Because it's a very open source game, it had really early on a lot of that sort of stuff written for it. And so it's been in development, like the VR side of it, for 5 or 6 years. Like it's something that's been ongoing for a long time, so they're really on the ball with that.
Yep. And another one I like is called Ultra Wings, where you fly around gliders, ultralight aircraft, and then little two-seater aircraft and stuff like this, doing missions and stuff. Really great fun. That's this week in virtual reality, brought to you by ATH Web Hosting.
So there goes half of the listeners. So if there's anybody left, we've got some actual stories now.
Oh, man. You're bringing us back onto track. What's wrong with you?
No,
Nobody wants to hear stories. They want to hear about our chat.
I'm channeling Glenn, all right? Seeing if he's sleeping or something. I don't know what he's doing.
Having a holiday off in the Bahamas, as he usually does.
That'd be it.
Disney's new streaming service called Disney Plus will be launching in late 2019, and the entertainment company is banking on Loki, Cassian Andor and other characters in its vast portfolio to lure fans away from streaming champ and soon-to-be rival Netflix. Disney CEO Bob Iger spilled the beans on Thursday during an earnings call with investors. The new direct-to-consumer streaming service will be built around Disney's venerable namesake studio, along with Pixar, Marvel, the Star Wars franchise, and also National Geographic. What's more, through the recent $71.3 billion acquisition of 21st Century Fox, Disney will also control 60% of Hulu and use Fox assets to add its current lineup. There'll be a new live-action Star Wars series that Lucasfilms plans to take into production next year, where you'll be able to follow the adventures of rebel spy Cassian Andor, played by Diego Luna, during the formative years of the rebellion and prior to the events of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. It was previously revealed that producer and actor Jon Favreau will write and executive produce The Mandalorian, a live-action series set after the fall of the Empire before the emergence of the First Order. Iger also confirmed that Marvel Studios developing a series around the popular God of Mischief Loki, portrayed by Tom Hiddleston. And Disney's CEO told CNBC that thousands of hours of library product, including movies, TV shows and other content aimed at hardcore Disney fans, will be made available. Disney Plus will also feature new stories in the worlds of Monsters, Inc. and Disney Channel's High School Musical. Something else to sign up to, Mr. T? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be about US $8 a month, which is only $2 cheaper than Netflix. Mandalorian, in case anyone's wondering, basically is main character is effectively Boba Fett, or Boba Fett, I should say. Yeah, I don't know. It's got some stuff. It'll be, obviously have Monsters Inc. Have High School Musical. It's gonna have Hope Magician, Stargirl, Timmy Failure. It's gonna have, a lot of Sword in the Stone, Lady and the Tramp. All of those live action remakes, Rayman and the Baby. I don't know. I mean, all this stuff. Well, here we go. Title. But I'm just looking now. And
also coming soon to a torrent website near you.
Well, I was just looking at there's a website I'm on here that compares what Disney's going to offer as it compares to what
Torrent Freak,
Amazon Prime, Netflix, and Foxtel are currently showing.
Yep.
And in reality, if you've already got Foxtel and you've got Netflix, basically like the couple of the kids channels and one of the movies channels, you basically already have what's going to be on Disney. By the looks of it, I mean, okay, there's going to be some exclusive content because they have to do that, same as everyone does that. Prime and Netflix, they all do that. But there's I guess
because they got acquisition of 21st Century Fox, so Foxtel's got a deal there somewhere with them.
Yeah, I mean, okay, they'll put some stuff they'll get early, like for example, Toy Story 4 when it comes out, it'll probably go straight to the streaming service as a purchase as soon as it comes out at the cinema.
It's about a fork.
So, a spork.
A spork.
Isn't that the weirdest trailer?
Yes.
But yeah, so I don't know. I really look, unless you don't have an existing service, if you don't have Foxtel, you don't have Netflix, you don't have Amazon Prime, and you
got
primarily
kids.
Well, yeah, I mean not only kids. Disney does some of the more adult shows as well, but not to the same extent. But I mean, okay, maybe, but I don't know. It'll be interesting. My advice would be don't sign up straight away. Let it run for 12 months, and see. Then they're going to know what they've got as opposed to what you can get elsewhere.
And at some stage, we're going to have BBC streaming as well, because they'll put all Doctor Who and stuff on there. They're taking that off everything.
If you, well, they already do, because a lot of that's already running in the UK now, like as an actual.
They'll have to make it worldwide and service.
You just use the VPN for that.
No, but I mean, in the future, to compete with these guys, they want to get more money too.
The BBC is dumb.
Yes.
Because in the UK, everybody pays a TV subscription if you have a TV. So what we would call Foxtel or our pay TV is part of that payment. So they have, they don't have a free-to-air channel per se. Everything is a paid subscription.
Yep.
So as far as they're concerned, they're already covered. They're not smart enough to figure out that if they open up to the rest of the world, they can make more money. So
they'll have to do something if they're going to take it all off Netflix and everywhere, and then we just watch it on the ABC once a year, I guess. That's it.
Well, I remember a couple of years ago. It was when pretty sure it was when Sherlock. No, when was it?
Sherlock. I think that was 10 years ago, son.
Yeah, I know, but it was about that time. It was when that came out. I don't think it was the show that did it, but there was something that came out, and they went, "Hey, we're going to open up our streaming services to the world to be able to watch this particular thing, whatever it was." And that lasted like 2 episodes, and they went, "Nah, don't worry about it." So who knows what they're going to do? I don't know. Look, as I said, give it 12. I wouldn't, even if it does come out tomorrow, I wouldn't sign up for it for 12 months. I would let it run its course, see what they have to offer as opposed to what you've currently got. As I said, if you don't have anything at all and you've got kids and you like those style, the Disney franchise style shows,
yep.
Then yeah, sure, why not? But it's given that 95% of it you can get on other current platforms that are either the same or within a couple of dollars a month anyway, price difference.
Yeah.
Don't know. We shall see.
So what stories have you got?
There's a few things. There's a couple that are just quick stories just to stop auto-playing, you stupid autoplay. Seriously. People in their websites. I don't know, I haven't had a chance to catch the last couple of weeks' shows because I've been busy, but I don't know if they're talking about this or not, but the My Health records, huge success that the Australian government is because everything they do just works flawlessly. Wait, am I being sarcastic enough? So
the sarcastic meter has just exploded. Oh, it's sarcastic meter. That's original.
So basically, as everybody knows, it is opt out, which means that once it launches on January 31st, unless you have specifically gone in and said, I don't want my records published, they will be online by default.
You'll be able to opt out anytime in the future after it's up, but best to do it now.
Do it before it goes in.
Before the hackers get
Well, yeah, not only that, look, knowing how their system works, the MyTax, the MyGov, the Centrelink, all this is through that. You can go to the mygov.com, you get, or mygov.gov, whatever the bloody hell it is. You can go there, you can get access to your Centrelink records, you can get access to your taxation records, and I literally have to reset my account 3 or 4 times a year because it locks up and just refuses to do anything. You ring them up, they go, I'll reset your account. I said, yes, but every time I reset my account, it loses all the data. So I only have 3 months worth of data because it doesn't tie the new data to the old data. So when I reset it, I don't have access to any of my tax data anymore. I don't have access to any of my Centrelink data anymore. I don't have access to anything I've done involving the government. And that literally has been happening for probably 5 years now.
Have you tried rebooting your computer or a different browser? That's probably going to fix it.
Yeah, I'm not using IE6, that's the problem. And my concern is that that's going to happen with this. Now, not a huge deal because it will recover the data from the servers and whatever, but you've got to wait for it. And then but anything you've done recently, it won't tie in. The problem is that the reset process is incredibly simple. All you need to do is you need to know that person's email address and that person's his email address and phone number, I believe, is all you need. You can do a full account reset that doesn't send notifications to say it's been reset, by the way. And it will, when it does the reset, it then asks you your name, your phone number, your address, your email address. So when you do a reset on the account, if somebody has access, you don't need access to the email address to do it. You just need to know the email address. And then once they've done that, you can then enter your own details or their details, but enter your email address and your phone number, and you have full access to the system, and they haven't received notification saying that that's happened.
Jeez. It's pretty shite.
So knowing how that part of it already works and how flaky that part of it already is, I'm not really looking for, not that, I got nothing in my medical record that, that's, it's worth a damn anyway, but
no one cares about your herpes.
No, everyone's got that. Wait.
Most people do, yeah.
But those few people I know have that. Look, and it's going to have other problems because if this is supposed to be,
well, you try using Centrelink and it times out and logs you out, and times out and logs you out. I went one time to update details when I moved to Melbourne, and I sat there for 4 hours trying to log in and get into Centrelink so I can say that I'd moved to Melbourne and didn't have a job there. And it timed out so many times. I rang them up, sat on the phone for 2 hours, couldn't get through because I was in a queue. So I went to the Centrelink office and said, I need to update my details. Oh, you should do that at home. I said, I can't do it at home because your website times out. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. And then I was on the phone for 2 hours. Oh, well, look, just sit over here at this computer here and you can log in there. Okay, I just logged in. It's been 15 minutes now and it's still spinning around trying to load the page. And the computer tech guy walks past. I said, this is locked up. It's taken forever to load. He said, yeah, it does it all the time. I said, well, you tell that guy over there who's talking to people walking in here saying, the website's fine, the website. I was on NBN 140 before most people in Australia got it when I was in Melbourne. And you can't tell me my network was too slow or something like that. Centrelink is a shite system on slow 486s with floppy drives.
But now the thing is that now has your Centrelink records, that has your taxation records, that will have your health records, it'll have your driver's license and driver's history and all those records.
Yep.
That's going to be implemented
and
soon.
now Will gets hit by a car and he goes into the hospital and they're like, should we give him some penicillin? Hang on, I'll just look it up. You might have to come back tomorrow because it's still loading his account.
Yeah.
Is he allergic to penicillin? I don't know. Let's try it and see what happens. Oh, man, he's got saliva coming out his mouth and his head is 4 times bigger. Maybe we shouldn't have given it to him. Oh, well, my health.
And this is my issue with it. And the whole... don't get me started on the privacy side of it. This is just the functional side of it. Not even remotely started on the privacy side yet, which it stores on your browser in unsecured cookies that you can read in a text browser. So, don't worry about any of that. Well, it's okay, actually, it'll be pretty private because it'll never load, so you're never going to be copied, so don't worry about that. But, yeah, so, look, opt out as soon as you can. It's nothing about it. No
if you can. I mean, the reason they extended it for another month is because you can't log in to opt out.
Which is the problem. I literally just went to log in to show you what I was talking about, and it's...
This is the prime example. It's not even being used for medical records yet. It's only being used for people to opt out, and they can't log in to get out.
Yeah. Yep. I actually was literally just trying to log in now, and it won't.
And our government was fighting when the tech guy said it needs to be more secure. They're like, no, it doesn't. You don't need to worry about that. They're like, yes, it does. And this week they're like, oh, okay, we put some more security on there. Boo-hoo, you little babies.
You know, the other thing that bugs me is because it used to be Centrelink originally, and I always used to log in with my CCV number.
Yep.
Then they changed it to MyGov, and you can no longer log in with your CCV number, but because it kept the same website, it auto-fills my CCV number instead of what it's actually supposed to be. Every time. I've changed it, but it keeps doing it. So, yeah, it's just...
Isn't that a security number on the back of your credit card?
No, sorry, CRV, customer reference number. Yeah.
Comma separated values.
Yeah, CSV. Yeah, that's it. So I don't know.
Too many TLAs.
The other thing that bugs me is that after you've logged in, it then asks you...
We'll be back after this long break.
It asks you your secret question. And then after you've entered your secret question, it asks you your other secret question. And then after you've entered that one, it asks you your third secret question. Just ask me all 3 of them at once and put them on one page. Or just ask me one of them, because I have the same answer to all of them anyway. Because they're questions that I don't have answers for, because I have never bothered to look at.
All the answers are government sucks 99.
Nobody in 35 years has ever asked me any of these questions before. You know, so it's like, why, just why? And now it's going to freak out at me because I've put a wrong answer in. Oh no, I didn't.
Why should I know my wife's birth date? I can't put that in there.
I don't even know my own. You know, but yeah, like, well, it's finally actually logging in. Should I? Wow, that only took half an hour. We recommend you update your sign-in options to receive a code when you say, no, I don't want to. It doesn't work now. I don't want more things to not work. Oh, look, it's unlinked my ATO again. What a surprise. And when it unlinks it, not only do you lose some of the data, any messages in your inbox that you haven't, or even if you have read or haven't read them, that's related to that particular service that's been unlinked, they disappear. And when you relink it, they don't come back. So if they sent you your, tax refund statement or whatever, they go. They're gone. So what's the point of having an archive service if it doesn't archive anything? Anyway. Bloody government.
That's what grinds my gears. Samsung has unveiled a much anticipated foldable phone at well, all phones are foldable technically, aren't they, Mr.
Yeah, well, you can fold any phone. You're not necessarily
We've seen a lot of videos about iPhones that are foldable several years ago. The South Korean electronics
and iPads for that matter.
Yeah. South Korean electronics giant has launched a new flexible mobile screen technology for its foldable phones called Infinity Flex Display, and said it's working with Google on development. Foldable phones hold the promise of allowing consumers to do more complex work that would normally be done on a tablet or laptop, but with a device that becomes far more compact. The goal of this week's Samsung event is garnering critical feedback, as new technologies will require developers to tweak apps to make sure they run smoothly when the phone folds out into tablet form. Samsung is among a handful of companies which have flagged that foldable phones will be coming to the market soon. Although it has so far been mum on exactly when, analysts expect a launch date in the first half of 2019. Any later, and Samsung would run the risk of new Apple phones stealing its thunder. A vice president of engineering for Android confirmed that timeframe at a Google conference being held separately in California. It's an exciting concept, and we expect to see foldable products from several Android manufacturers. In fact, we're already working closely with Samsung on a new device they plan to launch early next year. China's Huawei has said it's planning to launch a 5G smartphone with foldable screen in mid-2019. Both Samsung and Huawei, however, have been beaten to the market by Royole, a Chinese display making startup which last week unveiled a foldable phone with a 7.8-inch screen, priced from around $1,800.
Which you can't get in Australia.
Yeah. Royole said it will start filling orders from late December, although little is known about projected sales. That would make it interesting when it comes to some of these streaming services in Australia which only let you stream to tablets of certain sizes, and then you have to charge extra. What if, can you watch it on the small version of the screen, but when you fold it out now you have to pay an extra $10 a month? Is that going to happen?
I think it would probably use a bit of the same screen size and just change the resolution.
Yeah, but they're going to detect that and they go, oh, you've opened this on a tablet now. Basically
these days, unless it's effectively the Pixel phone, HTC, Samsung or Apple, we pretty much won't get it in Australia anymore because of the TSSR.
Oh, we're going to ban all China's products too, aren't we?
Basically banning anything that won't pay the government a shitload of money to say it's safe. What I find hilarious when you're reading the TSSR list, and this comes directly from the TSSR, saying that we have actually found no combination of technical security controls to sufficiently mitigate the risks. So what they're saying is, it doesn't matter what they do, they actually aren't achieving anything. But yeah, so the short answer is any of the Huawei, ZTE, Ericsson, Nokia, a lot of those, all the Huawei ones and all the ZTE, I think, and some of the Ericsson, some of the Nokia are on the ban list for this thing, among others.
Can we buy it from Amazon?
Well, yeah, and this is the thing. You can buy it on AliExpress or Amazon or eBay or whatever you want, and they can bring it over, and there's nothing they can do about it. But
Hogan will bring them in.
Yeah,
he loves the Asian market.
But no provider can bring in these phones.
No cell carrier.
Yes, yeah, no. Well, no company can bring these phones in to sell. You can bring them individually for now until they stop that.
Except for Bob's eBay website, where he's going to buy 10 of them, have them shipped over, sell them at a profit, import another 20. He'll be able to do it.
I just love this way. So the government considers that the involvement of the vendors who are likely to be subject to extrajudicial directions from a foreign government that conflict with Australian laws may risk failure to the carrier by adequately protecting a 5G network from unauthorised access and interference. Australia don't make any phones.
They're stealing our bytes. Give me back my bytes.
It's just absolutely stupid. Yeah, banning the 2 full bands high and ZTE. But yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's just a load of crap. It's more government bureaucracy gone mad. But this story also brought me into you're talking about Samsung. Another story that I had up here about Samsung investing $22 billion in the 5G networking to help promote their AI, because the AI that they want to introduce requires 5G bandwidth.
Bixby.
Because the 4G just doesn't have enough bandwidth to be able to do it. And
now, here's something you could probably tell me about. I've heard the tinfoil hat that when 5G comes in, you have to have a tower every 5 meters or some crap because they're so weak and it's going to fry our brains.
Look, there's some truth. With any rumor or nutcase or whatever, there is always some truth to it. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less, but there's always some. Now, the way radio frequency works, it's the same as light spectrums work and sound spectrums work. The higher the frequency, the less the travel distance. So back in the day of analog phones, or even go before that, go back to the old AM broadcasting when everything was broadcast on AM. The reason they chose amplitude modulation was because a very weak signal could travel a very long distance because they were a very flat sine wave, and they weren't great. Like if you're behind, like say, had a hill and you had your house, chances are the wave would actually go over your house, so you may not get signal there. Or you used to, in the old days, you'd drive under power lines and the radio would go funky because of the interference. But because they had this really long, flat flying wave, a very weak AM signal could travel thousands of kilometers. It actually wasn't unheard of to pick up American stations on cloudy nights in Australia.
I used to do that when I was a teenager. There was I think it was a British station that was playing Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy radio show at 11 o'clock at night, my time, and I could listen to that in my bedroom.
Yep, and that's why, because AM travelled so far. Then they came out with the FM frequencies, which is frequency modulation. They're controlled differently, slightly higher bandwidth, gave them more throughput per frequencies, so you could have a left and a right channel audio instead of just a mono signal, but it degraded the signal distance somewhat, so you needed a stronger transmitter to transmit. Well, even a stronger transmitter wouldn't transmit as far as a weaker AM signal. The same with mobile phones. Back in the day when we had analogs and CDMAs back 20 years ago. Wow, really?
Feeling old yet, Shani?
Yeah, I know, right? It wasn't, I know a lot of farmers who still can't get mobile signal, but back in the day, they could get analog and CDMA signal no trouble at all because of the same reason. The signal was a lower frequency, lower resonance, lower bandwidth, lower quality signal, but it could travel a lot further. Then they introduced digital because everybody had to have it. In actual fact, the reason they did that is because the CDMA signal was so secure and so strong that the military actually took it over for their own personal use. So the entire CDMA network still exists. It's just used by the military. But the digital signals now meant that instead of broadcasting, at 1 megawatt and getting, let's say, 100 k's range, they started broadcasting at 4 megawatts, I think, I can't remember what the numbers are. Let's say it's 4 megawatts and they're only getting 20k range. So now suddenly you've got to have 5 times as many towers to cover the same signal. Then 2G came in. Same problem again. The signal's compressed even more. The waves are starting to travel more and more vertical. So you're getting better coverage. Like if you're behind a building, you'll get a signal, but the broadcast area of that signal is less. So you've got to you've either got to put more towers in, which they can do to a point, or you've got to increase the power output. Problem with increasing the power output is you increase distortion, especially close to the tower, which means if you're standing under the tower, you actually won't get signal, which currently happens, especially with 4G. 4G again compress the waves. It's a higher frequency, higher megahertz frequency, so it's compressing the waves even more. Same thing, allowing more data throughput, resulting in less distance traveled. 5G is going to be exactly the same thing again. It's going to allow more data throughput with much less distance. So you've got to either bump them up to 10, 15, 20 megawatt boosters on the stations, which is going to fry a turkey that lives next to the towers, or you've got to put in more towers.
And when you've got to deal with the council and get approval to put a tower in the next couple of blocks away from where you got a tower, it's probably just easier to jam more power through the tower that you've got.
Well, then you've got the problem of, once again, digital distortion, and also overlapping, pushing too much throughput. But the other thing you've got to watch is there is a point where you turn a tower into a microwave oven, because that's effectively what a microwave oven is. It uses microwaves, which is what we're transmitting when we're talking 3G, 4G, 5G. It uses microwaves to heat food. So there's a point literally at which if you ever had satellite internet and you've had two-way satellite internet, there's a big yellow warning sticker: do not stand in front of this dish, because you're receiving the satellite signals from the satellite, which is fine. By the time they get through the Earth's atmosphere and get to you, it's nothing. Like we're receiving those every day walking around. That's not a problem because it's such a low amplitude that you don't even notice it. But when you have to now send that signal from your computer to your satellite dish, then you have to beam that up to the satellite. The power coming out of that dish is astronomical, and if you stand in front of it for a few hours, you'll turn into a roast turkey. And which has actually literally happened. There's actually stories of people who work at microwave dishes for radio waves and things like that, for tracking and whatever, have gone to sleep on the dish while they're working on it, and they've been roasted. They've never woken up. They've been fried. Yeah. So there is actually a lot of room to it. Now, there's the other side of that is they're saying the 5G frequency screws with your cell regeneration and stuff like that. That I don't know. I haven't put much study into that yet. I'm currently working on a couple other projects. There is some truth to it. Obviously, if you're vibrating the cells, which is what happens at frequency, and the more amplitude and the more power you give them, the more cells are going to vibrate. So yes, there is some truth to potentially that's a thing. I mean, as to whether it's any more dangerous than having the mobile phone sitting beside your head on a regular basis anyway, I don't know. I haven't looked into it. We have Bluetooth, we have Wi-Fi, we've got all these other things kicking around anyway. Don't know that side of it yet, haven't done enough. But yes, there is definitely potential health risks with this 5G.
If that becomes well known, then it's going to affect your house price in the area too.
Well, it'll affect a lot of things. I mean, the thing is, if that becomes a thing, then you're not going to have the coverage, because that person... Because at the moment, if you've got a tall building in the city, they'll actually rent roof space off you to put a tower up there. But you're not going to want that up on your roof. You know what I mean? So it's also going to affect the actual usability of the 5G. So the onus really with this technology, like that they're investing money into, part of that is to actually prove that the technology is safe on a large scale rollout. See, I'm pretty sure the 4G I think is 35 gigahertz. No, 3.5 gigahertz. Sorry, and I think 5G is 28, which means that's 28 gigahertz millimeter wave. So it's a 28 millimeter wavelength, which means every 28 mils there's a wave drop. So it's a very, very tight very tight network. Like it'll be interesting to see once people do more results into that. Yeah, I've seen some on eBay with lab professors who remain anonymous, who have done some tests saying it's bad. I've seen other ones who do tests and say it's okay. So that's going to be a contentious issue for a while till they actually prove it. But yes, there is definitely potential for it to go south very quickly if it's used wrong.
Especially if you're in an area that doesn't have much signal and you've opted for a personal femto cell that's 5G. You might want to keep it in the garage far away from the rest of the sleeping quarters.
I don't know how well that would work in 5G. Even 4G, you hear a lot of complaints of them not working very well because they interfere with the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth and the TV signal and everything else. It's getting to that wavelength already where it's interfering with everything that's already existing. So I don't know if even a 5G femto would be a thing, to be honest. It also makes it harder with 2G, LTE, that sort of side of it. It's fairly easy to rig up enough of a Yagi, which is basically a directional antenna, or even a unidirectional or multi-directional antenna made from Pringles box or a strainer or whatever. It's fairly easy to whip up a booster because the signal strength is broad enough and there's enough strength floating around that you can usually find the signal somewhere. Something like 5G, because it's such a tight wavelength, it's going to be a case of if you don't have a signal, you don't have a signal. You're not going to move 3 foot to the left and get the signal. It's really going to be very pinpoint specific, I think. So I know 4G bad in my house is bad enough. At one end of the house I get full signal, at the other end of the house I get 1 bar. And that's 4G.
Do you have Wi-Fi calling on your phone?
Yes, but I don't know if it works or not. Because when I'm in the house I get enough signal that it works on the phone, and when I'm in the shed I don't get the Wi-Fi signal. So I don't know if my Wi-Fi calling actually works or not. So,
speaking of internet, thousands of Australians are still getting less than half the home internet speeds they're paying for, according to the latest data on NBN fixed line connections. The ACC released its third quarterly Measuring Broadband Australia report on Monday, which tests around 1,000 customers' connections. It shows that 69% achieved download speeds above 90% of the plan's advertised maximum speeds, while 7% recorded less than 50% of that maximum. This means around a quarter of the connections achieved between 50% and 90%. The overall numbers have barely moved since the last report in July this year, but ACCC Chair Rod Sims told that the data is still encouraging. First of all, the numbers confirm the massive improvement over 2017, which is just terrific. And then you've had internet service provider MyRepublic taking notice of the results and improving their performance. This monitoring does keep everyone on their toes. TPG led the pack again this time, delivering 88.4% of its plan's maximum download speeds. It was followed by...
Everyone's leaving.
Yes.
They've got plenty of bandwidth.
It was followed by Aussie Broadband, 85.8%, iiNet, 84.8%. Well, that's TPG anyway. Optus, 84%, Telstra, 83.5%, and MyRepublic. Sim says that although a small number of tests showed speeds of less than half of the advertised maximum, telcos should be aiming to deliver at least 90% consistently. If not possible, they shouldn't advertise it.
Well, I'm on a 60/40 here. I just did a speed test then. I'm with Telstra. This is a speed test while you're talking, and I got 48. I'm supposed to be on a 60/20. Now, this actually brings me to another story that well, not a story, but something else I was going to mention. At work, we were with Commander, who, if you've been in a big business or a telecommunications industry for a long time, you know that Commander basically used to lead the way with phone integration and multi-phone support and all the stuff that goes with having multiple phones to a premises.
Yep.
Now, they also do the internet for their services as well, and they've switched all their stuff from massive big units hanging up on the wall to VoIP effectively. It was all done over software. Now, we were with them for 3 years at our work, and the service gradually got worse and worse and worse to the point where there was a noticeable 2 or 3 second delay from the time you would speak to the time you would hear something.
Yeah.
And just before we switched, I did a speed test. We were paying for 160, 140. What's the top tier?
140.
Yeah. So we were paying for that. And I did a speed test before we left. And with not using the phones, the fastest speed I could get out of it was 15.4.
Jeez.
When we used the phones, that dropped to about 10.1.
Wow.
So we ditched them. We went to Aussie Broadband, which their commercial side of that is called wideband. And Aussie Broadband handle the same thing. They do the VoIP, they do the multi-location. We've got multi-location because we've got 2 stores in 2 separate locations. You can transfer between locations. There's all sorts of wicked stuff you can do. They do voicemail to email. They do all this sort of cool stuff. And they're having they've got a support base down in Melbourne. And if I ever have a problem, pick up the phone, ring Kat, go, "Hey Kat, there's a problem. Can you sort it out?" She'll go, "Yep, no worries," and go on top of it for me.
Nice.
So the problem of now we're having so using the same physical line into the building and the same routers, the same everything that we were using before, we're actually at about 90 meg down and 29 or something meg up.
So you mean if you rebooted it, it wouldn't have helped?
And just to their customer support is amazing. For the last 6 weeks, we've been fighting with NBN at the new location to get the internet on. We haven't had internet because the NBN's just been screwing us over. But they've diverted our lines to mobile, so at least we still have phone. They've given us a 4G dongle, so we can still use the internet and keep running that way. Like, they've gone out of their way. Like, she's emailing me or ringing me at least once a day to let me know the status of what's happening with the NBN. Like,
yep.
It's amazing how well this company just does the job they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I moved to Aussie Broadband on recommendations on Whirlpool about a year ago, and it's brilliant. Love it.
They're absolutely amazing. They go out of their way to help you, which is unheard of. And I don't think we've actually had an instance where they haven't been able to help. And they're cheap, including the phone package. They're cheap, like half the price. I think we've got both our locations serviced for the same price we're paying Commander for one location.
Wow. So,
the prices are great. And we did the same thing with power. We switched power companies recently through the Power Shop. And same thing, they're an Australian-based company, call centre in Melbourne. They go out of their way to help you if you've got any issues. They help you. They've got an app on their phone, so you can do live meter reads. You get live pricings, how much you owe. You know what bills are going to be.
Nice.
You can buy packs. If you buy prepaid packs, it reduces your. Like, you buy $10 worth of pack and you get $14 worth of bonus. So you get extra stuff like that. So. Customer service still does exist, and Australian companies still do exist. You got to hunt around for them, but to tell you what, it's well worth the effort switching over to them. Like, they've been amazing. Just how far, they've done stuff above and beyond what I would even expect them to do. Not just helped out what I would expect, but they've done stuff far above what I would expect them to do, which doesn't happen.
I wonder if this technology might help you, if you don't mind me doing another one. Telstra customers can keep using both their home phone and internet during fixed-line broadband outages as the telco unveils its next-generation 4G mobile fallback modem. The new Telstra Smart Modem Gen 2 automatically diverts phone and internet landline services to Telstra's 4G mobile network within 30 seconds of a fixed-line home broadband outage. While voice calls in progress are disrupted, once the internet connection switches across to 4G, customers can resume making and receiving calls using their home phone number and handset. The modem still requires a battery backup if customers wish to use their home phone and internet during a power outage. Customers do not pay extra for the mobile data used during a fixed line outage, although speeds are capped at 6 meg down and 1 up. Meanwhile, voice calls are charged at standard home phone rates. Whilst running over mobile broadband, home phone calls take advantage of the mobile voice over LTE standard, using quality of service to reserve bandwidth for voice. This ensures call quality does not suffer when the internet is in use. Available to NBN, DSL and cable customers, the new Gen 2 modem goes on sale today. Of the 600,000 existing Telstra smart modems with 4G broadband fallback, Gen 1.1 devices are set to receive voice fallback via firmware upgrade next year. While broadband fallback works for all customers, voice fallback is only available to those on the NBN. Both Telstra and Vodafone released 4G fallback modems in 2017, taking advantage of their mobile networks to ensure customers were not trapped in limbo during broadband outages or NBN connection delays. That's a pretty good idea.
I mean, 99% of NBN breakup is power outage.
Yeah.
So unless your modem has a battery backup, your computer has a battery backup, your phone has a backup,
laptops.
it's almost irrelevant. And normally, if the NBN goes down, people switch over to their mobiles anyway. So, I mean, look,
it'd be handy for a business. Small business.
Even those will switch over to mobiles generally if they're set up properly. But there are some advantages, like the MediAlert bracelets, like the customers who require the emergency buzzers and stuff like that. Always on internet for that sort of response time and stuff like that. Yes, definitely. I think that's a great idea. And look, there is probably some situations where I can think of situations like having a call center, like a medical call center, like ambulance or fire or police, something like that, where they would have, I mean, they're going to have UPSs in place and whatever anyway, but something like that where it gives them that secondary option, yes, not a bad idea. But for the average consumer, I mean, they're not charging any more for it. Why not take it? It's one of those things we need to have.
And it's free upgrade for existing customers.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's one of those things that you sort of go, well, I don't. The chances of needing it are the chances of the internet going down and not
power
and not having a blackout or not being able to use your phone for an hour while internet's down, it's pretty and being capped. See, some people are going to run into trouble. A certain friend of ours who has been complaining that he lost internet in his entire house. He's got a smart home, and he had all sorts of problems with his smart home not being smart anymore.
That was quite amusing. I can't even talk to my television to change channels. What kind of third world country is this I'm living in? We won't mention your name, Striker.
Yeah, I know, it's funny. But I don't even know if it would help in that situation because it's capped at 6 meg and 6 and 1. 6 and 1, you're really going to struggle to get voice to work, voice commands to work, and smart home. When you think all your IoT devices and all your smart devices are trying to connect, and you give a verbal command, they all wake up and send and receive at the same time. I don't know if 6 meg would be enough for that to work anyway. So the few situations where I can think it would be beneficial, I don't necessarily know if it would actually be beneficial. So, because most of the places, people who have got emergency response and MediAlert braces and stuff generally have a fallback line anyway. The government actually has an incentive where they'll give you, like, say you're on NBN, for example, they will also throw in an ISDN line as a fallback line. So most of those sort of situations are already covered.
Yep.
So I mean, it would probably be more beneficial, honestly, if it also used the 4G. So it spread the load between...
multiplex it.
Yeah. I mean, and then just fall back to the 4G if there is a problem, but you've got that line channel sitting there. Why not use it, like in the... I don't know if anyone's ever heard of a mushroom router, but that's basically what it does. You can get a mushroom router, you can throw 3 Wi-Fi cards in it, 2 LAN cards, 5 4G cards, and it'll just spread the load across all of them at the same time.
Ah, nice.
Especially a lot of the streaming rigs use that sort of setup. Something like that would probably be slightly more beneficial. It would also have the benefit of easing the load on the NBN network.
Yeah.
It would increase the load on the mobile network, but at the same time it would decrease that because when you're at home you'd be using Wi-Fi on your phone anyway and not 4G on your phone, so you would probably balance that use case out. So I think actually if it used them both at the same time, that'd probably be more beneficial, to be honest.
Do you have one more story we might be able to squeeze in?
We're running pretty long.
As we usually do. We've got nothing to talk about.
Know,
it's pretty boring.
Exactly. I'll just quickly mention a couple of brief, and then one I kind of want to talk about. Researchers develop optical fiber cable capable of over 1 petabit per second, which is 12 times more than the current optical cables can transmit. I'm not going to even try and explain to you what a petabit is. Go and look it up because it's a whole lot of zeros. But basically, for something like the undersea cable that we currently have, what it basically means is that instead of having, they were talking about, because we quite literally have one optic fiber cable connecting us from here to the rest of the world. And they were talking about running another couple of cables to do, because if you try to do a speed test overseas, you just run out of data. There's just no bandwidth. But if they're only now got to lay one more cable,
yep,
and it's 12 times the throughput. So it's going to be amazing when that. It's still a few years off being resilient enough at the moment. It's still quite fragile, as you can imagine. But once that happens, basically, to put it into perspective, so our fastest NBN plan is 100 meg. So basically, one strand of this fiber cable, and given that they usually come in massive big trunk lines like that, one strand of this fiber cable is 12 million times quicker than Australia's fastest NBN connection.
Nice.
So
and maybe this will allow our ISPs to offer 1 gigabit connections, right?
Yeah, that's it. So basically what it means is that, how many people have got in the country? 25 million?
Last time I counted.
Something like that. So what it basically means is that they can run 2 tiny human hair size optic fiber cables across the sea, underground cable, and everybody in the country can have 100 meg internet without any slowdown. And that's just if they run 2. A trunk line's got tens of thousands in it. So I'll let you do the math on that one. But I just thought that was interesting that that's sort of, they're not just working on wireless, they're actually looking at improving fixed line as well.
Sweet.
Digital Reality. Now, Digital Reality is a Californian company, I believe. American company, anyway. And they are responsible for some of the largest data centers in the States. Now, they're actually coming to Australia. They're now opening their 5th data center with 7,000 square metre facility to be located about 40 k's west of Sydney CBD. And San Francisco-based company, sorry. Yeah, so a lot of the time now, they've acquired a 14-hectare land parcel to put their new facility on. And it adds about... so basically, chances are if you've got if you've got hosting on an Australian server, you're most likely hosted with one of these guys at the moment, because they
like just, Aussie Tech Web Hosting.
Yeah, they just do such a huge amount of a lot of the data centers use their backbone. So you might actually be with somebody else, but at the end of the day, you might actually be using them. But they have data centers. They've got Sydney, they've got Melbourne, they've got. I'm pretty sure they've either have or are having one in Brisbane.
Yeah.
They've got 5 of them anyway, and they got obviously the usual Singapore and Hong Kong and Tokyo and Osaka and whatever else as well. So the good news about using an international company like this is obviously they have their own gateways. So if you're hosting them in Australia and you want to have a co-hosted site in America, it's not a big deal because they're going to have a straight through gateway, so you're going to get really good speeds even to an overseas website.
Nice.
So I just sort of quickly mention that. And the one story that does interest me, and I do want to talk about, somewhat at least a little bit, is the Raspberry Pi 3 Model A, which has been the flagship for, end of 2016, I think. But it's now $25.
Sweet.
So Raspberry Pi, has also actually been upgraded somewhat. So there's not much of as much of a line as there was between the A plus and B plus. The A plus now has got the same quad core processor that the 3B plus had, so they've optimized that, which is a quad core 1.4 gig ARM Cortex A53. I think it's got 512 meg RAM. And the B plus has got a gig of RAM. The A plus has got it's the same size as the original Pi, 65 mil by 56 mil, 40 pin GPIO, so it's fully backwards compatible. It does have they have included a dual band 2.4 and 5 gig wireless LAN and a Bluetooth. It's got a HDMI port, all the usual micro USB, 4-port stereo, composite output, all the usual stuff. They're planning on keeping that in production till at least January 2023, maybe longer. But so with the price that it's down to now, it really does. I mean, you've been able to buy the Mini for about $25 for a while, which is a really cut down, almost Arduino style board. It doesn't have most of the ports on it. It's just was basically a processor and some memory. It really was a standalone IoT device just to run basic programming.
Yep.
But with the Pi 3, it's a full system. It's a system on a chip, basically. It even runs a lot of games and stuff now. It's perfect for media centers. Like, there's a lot of use you can do with it now. And for $25, you'd be mad to not have half a dozen of them kicking around to do random projects that you don't even know you want to do until you've got one.
Yeah.
Like at work the other day, I had my original Pi I got way back, 6 years ago, something like that. And hadn't used it. I've used it, played around with it, done a few bits and pieces, done nothing substantial. And then the other day, we put a 30-inch monitor up and had, like you see when you go to shopping centers and stuff like that, you see the advertisement billboards up on them.
Yep.
I found a program called Screenly that does that. It's all web-based, so you can do it remotely from another computer. And it displays websites, displays videos, pictures, whatever you want it to display, however you want to do it. So it's like a billboard sitting there and being self-contained. And so, so I just thought I'd mention that because all your hobbyists who want to do stuff or in-net IoT stuff or home automation, smart home, that sort of stuff, these are really the way to go. They're lightweight, they use very little power, they're quite powerful, and they're being open source. There's a million different programs on GitHub or whatever there to run off them.
And one that I just quickly wanted to run, which would be a funny one I thought we might be interested in. A Chinese headmaster has been fired after a secret stack of crypto mining machines was found connected to his school's electricity supply. Teachers at the school in Hunan became suspicious of a whirring noise that continued day and night. This led to the discovery of machines which were mining cryptocurrency Ethereum. They racked up an electricity bill of 14,700 yuan, which is about £1,600 or 2,100 here. The headmaster had originally spent 10,000 yuan on a single machine for use at home, but allegedly decided to move it to school after he saw how much electricity it consumed. A total of 8 mining machines were installed on the Hunan school's computer room between summer 2017 and summer 2018. The deputy headmaster also became involved in the scheme and allegedly acquired a 9th machine for himself in January, which was also installed at the school. The computer network in the building became overloaded as a result of the mining activity, and this interfered with teaching. All the money earned through the mining operation has now been claimed by the local official responsible for discipline inspection.
How many stories like that have we heard?
Yep, we talked about a lot of them on the show.
So funny. And they don't use that much power, but they do use a noticeable amount if you're running them 24/7.
Yes, and you got 8 or 9 of them.
Yeah, exactly. They'll use, 1,500 watts or something like that, which is basically like having your kettle on 24/7. It's fair chunk of power. And what usually uses it as well, especially if you've got that many of them, you've got to cool the room down, so you've got the air conditioner running as well. You know, so it's yeah.
Anyway, everyone, thanks for listening to the Aussie Tech Heads Show, broadcast weekly. We can be found at facebook.com/Aussie Tech Heads, twitter.com/Aussie Tech Heads, youtube.com/Aussie Tech Heads. Email us Glenn, Will, Jordan, and Warlock, Eric at aussietechheads.com.au. You can hear the Aussie Tech Heads on aussietechradio.com, 24/7 back-to-back play of some of the best tech-related shows from around Australia. New shows are added each Friday. Thanks for listening, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, leave us comments and stuff, and we'll catch you in another week. Well, Glenn will.
Oh, yeah, or another 3 months. So, yeah. Bye.